Hello, hello. Welcome to Healthy Perspectives, a podcast that takes on current cultural and social issues through a clinical lens. Hello, hello. All right. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we appreciate your time. I've been getting some questions lately, so I'm going to address some questions that have come to me over the next, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 podcasts. And let's just start with one of the frustrating questions that I get regarding my popularity. People will say to me, I didn't think anything of your podcast because you don't have many followers. And let's be real. I've done 0 marketing. You might be like, oh, Jeremiah, that's really bad. You shouldn't do that. I'm not doing this to convince you of anything. And if I market to you, then unfortunately that puts me in the same realm as everybody else, where I'm trying to convince you of something. What my hope is that you learn, grow, and get better at whatever it is. And so, that's an example of questions that come to me that I eventually, I do probably need to address in more depth. Will I do a marketing campaign at some point? I don't know. Honest to goodness, I really don't know. I know that I could probably get, from, several hundred followers on different platforms to, thousands of followers on different platforms, and I could make more money. I could, have a greater range of influence. And there's things that are in there that are appealing to me. Number one, the greater range of influence, the idea that more people would access my content and learn something. But we'll see. We'll see. But that's not really what today is about. I just wanted to address that as sort of a, give you an example of some of the questions that do come my way and how I'm not going to dodge them. Like I didn't dodge that question. This question came to me. So somebody who knows me and knows that I am a Christian, and that I have been recently talking about LGBTQ and loving people like trans people who are confused about their gender, who are out there promoting sexual behaviors that I don't agree with. And they say, there's 2 questions that came up with this. Number one, I'm going to address today, which is, how can a Christian man fight a political war? I'm going to address that today. But the second question I'm not going to address today, I will address it, but not today, was how, as a Christian man, Jeremiah, do you work with people who have beliefs that are so different than yours and contradict what you believe? And I'm going to address that one later. Okay. So that's something that's coming up on the horizon. If that's something that appeals to you, check back, take a look at our content, please. I know I'm doing this super organic. My SEO ratings suck. For those of you who know anything about, the how to get your content noticed and recognized, you're supposed to have these SEO ratings and all this stuff. And I'm not bragging that I suck at this marketing thing. I also simultaneously, I have limitations, right? I have set limitations around that. So I am dependent on you sharing this content with 10, 20, 50 people. I am dependent on you sending a text to your aunt or your uncle who needs something that I offer through this podcast. If you don't do that, it doesn't go there, because honestly, they're not going to search me and find me very easily. You have to be absolutely dead on intentional to find me on purpose. It's just that I'm just not going to populate up to the top. Okay. So let's go with a tip of the day for how can a Christian man fight a political war. The tip of the day is don't lose who you are to fight any war. Ooh, don't lose who you are to fight any war. Well, this makes a pretty big assumption, folks. The assumption here is you know who the heck you are. And I propose to you a question on that. Do you? Do you really know who you are? Do you? And then secondarily, do you know what the war is? Because many of you are fighting wars that aren't real wars. And many of you are fighting for things that aren't you. They're not you. I'm not fighting against something else. I'm fighting for something. Ooh, that's a big difference. I'm not against the LGBTQ community. I'm fighting for an understanding, a common sense understanding of basic reality. That's what I would fight for. Your very common sense, basic reality. Male and female. That's not outrageous. There's nothing outrageous about that. I'm not fighting against the LGBTQ community. I'm not fighting against Democrats or against Republicans. I'm fighting for something. And you might ask, politically, what is that? Well, there's a reason why in the last, dozen years or so, I've been watching this political landscape and decided I was registering independent. Some of you are like, what? A counselor's telling us their political perspectives? Actually, being independent means I'm not taking one of those two sides until election day. I'm going to vote my conscience. That's kind of odd. That means you might vote for Biden, maybe. You might vote for Trump, maybe. You might vote for JFK, maybe. I haven't decided yet. I have a pretty good idea because there's some things I'm seeing that are just mind-bogglingly crazy, insane cultural insanity. I'm not talking about people, I'm talking about cultural insanity. And I feel a need to push back on some of that cultural insanity. So the tip of the day is important. It's important. Don't lose who you are to fight a war. What in your mind supersedes war, comes before, like, is in bigger than war? What comes as a bigger thing than war? I'll tell you one thing that we always go to. We go to politics. Politics is bigger than war. Okay. What's bigger than politics? Follow the crumb trail. What's bigger than politics? Culture. I've talked about that many times here before. And what's bigger than culture? There is something bigger than culture. If you are, remember the question of the day, how can a Christian man fight a political war? Bigger than culture is God. Now, some of you out there are going, okay, I'm not listening anymore. This guy's crazy. He's just going to talk about God. He's going to shove God down my throat. I don't want to hear it. Okay. Do what you got to do. That's not my take. You're assuming things that aren't real, but do your thing. You keep living in your false narrative that these Christian guys out there, they're just preaching at me. They don't care about me. Do what you got to do. Turn it off. Like respond with some negativity on my social medias or whatever. You do what you got to do. For the rest of you who haven't disappeared yet, the reason I say God is because we know there has to be something more powerful than you and me. Let's say you believe in pantheism, that nature reestablishes an equilibrium. Pantheism, the study of nature, essentially. It's a philosophy that has been turned into a religion. Let's say you're Buddhist. I don't care. I'm not judging because why? This is not my place. No matter what I know to be real, it doesn't matter when it comes to you. Because if you don't know it to be real, that's your walk to walk. I'm not here to judge you. There is something, though, in every major religion in the world that says there's something more powerful than you and me. Here, I'll prove it. If you're satanic, you believe that there is something more powerful than you. If you worship these media personalities, right? You watch these people singing to millions and millions of people, and you're like, oh my gosh, she's so great, that Taylor Swift. Oh my gosh, she's amazing. I want to be exactly like her. You know what you're doing? You're putting something as more powerful than you. I just happen to call that God, because it is, for one. And secondarily, because we know it's more powerful than Taylor Swift. We know it's more powerful than any individual on the planet. But now let's go back to the question. How can a Christian man fight a political war? First of all, you got to know what it means to be a Christian man. This is the way the question came to me, folks. So, I hope this is making some sense. A Christian man, let's go with the greatest example in Christianity, Jesus. How did Jesus fight a political war? He understood something that you and I seem to have forgotten much of the time. He understood that politics uses emotion, and that means, generally speaking, we should be calm. We should be selfless. We should understand what belongs to what, and that politics are submissive to culture, and culture is submissive to God. I'm teaching you, if you're interested in how you out there, if you are, I know I'm talking specifically to Christian men, but how you as Christian men can fight a political war. Then what you got to do is get familiar with what the political war is. Sift through the garbage. Jesus set a good example of that. Anytime people were trying to pigeonhole Jesus into one particular category, he would say what? He'd say things like, nah. He would answer their questions with questions that were more meaningful. He'd say, well, maybe we should be like a child. What do you think about that? But children don't know all the biblical principles. Exactly. God works with individuals. God works with the child. He works with men and women. He works with grown-ups, elderly. I'll paint this for you. In the political war that we are in, this is going to irritate you, but I'm going to do it because most likely you have already chosen a side, Trump or Biden. God could use Trump. I know, I just lost half of you. God could also use Biden. Whoever is in that position next January, whoever it is, God has a plan. Whether he plans to use the, I mean, look, the way that men fight political wars is to put Christian men, my bad, Christian men fight political wars, is to put God first no matter what. No matter what. Look, governments since the beginning of time have tried with all of their might to put themselves above religion, above God. It has proven to be, like, if you're a communist country, what supersedes communism? God. If you're a socialist country, what supersedes socialism? God. If you're a capitalist country, what supersedes capitalism? God. What, like, it's not that difficult to see, folks, if you open your eyes. And once you do, you realize that the fight is very different than you might have thought. You don't have to be the loudest one in the room. You don't have to have the most followers on social media, because at the time it's chosen to be, what you have created, what you have done, the works you have done by following God will come to fruition. They will make the difference they were intended to make. And it will hurt, and it will be wonderful, and it will be everything in between. And the thing is, we don't know when that's going to happen. But we know that God uses individuals to influence society and cultures. And politics is just a part of the culture. And above all of that is one thing. So if you really want to know how a Christian man fights a political war, I'm happy to go into details on our current political war, because it doesn't frighten me. And it's not because I have all the answers. Matter of fact, I know that I don't. But it's because in my battle, I put God first. In my business, I put God first. I don't force it down anybody's throat in the clinical arena, which I will go into a later podcast. I did tell you that I was going to end up answering the question, how does a counselor balance their beliefs with others' beliefs when those beliefs contradict each other? In other words, how, as a Christian counselor, can I sit with a secular client and love them as they are? And I would just propose to you, how did Jesus get served by a prostitute? Perfume, cologne, I don't know exactly what they would have called it back then. Some odorous, like, liquid poured all over him, his feet. And he said, more or less, to this prostitute, I love you. Stop doing what you're doing. And I love you. That's our role, folks. I know I hit a specific niche group today with Christian men. That doesn't mean this doesn't apply to women, non-Christians, anybody else. But more and more as I go, what I'm finding is people have questions that are very specific. And when and if appropriate, I will be addressing those. Please like, subscribe, do all of those things. Follow us, help us spread the word, because I'm absolutely counting on you to share this, to make it go. If you want to support us, please do that. So far, I have done all of these podcasts, all of them, at my own cost. And that's a lot of cost. But the thing is, I do it because I love you. And I believe this is the right thing to do, to put this out there, to share this with my children, with my family, with you, and with your children and your families. Help each other out. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate our audience a lot, so we give you some simple ways to track us down. Please like, subscribe, and follow all the podcasts on different platforms, but you can also email us at healthyperspectives@protonmail.com, or you can check out our website at healthy-perspectives.com/podcast. It's a backward slash. So if you want to go to our landing page, if you go to healthy-perspectives.com, you'll still find us. You just got to click on the podcast button. Thank you so much.